So in this video what I'm going to look at is using the hue shift trick and the ambient gel light, but using the boosted ambient, using the function that allows you to create a control that produces a higher level than is normally available in the settings. So if you're not sure what any of that means, then there is a video on the hue shift trick, and there are also videos on using ambient gel lights. But the limitation with ambient gel lights is normally you're not in a position to get enough ambient light out of them, hence the use of the function to boost their output. So I've just brought in this dragon from the scanning repository. This one was the one converted by Graham Dretch, and we're going to look at setting the scene up for a gel light. So sky and fog, I turn the atmosphere off, set it to fully black, go into the skylight and disable the sunlight. That's all the sky settings taken care of. In render options I'm going to use premium effects, true ambience. I'm going to set it down to 4 rays per pixel for previewing, TA scatter correction only. I'm not going to use boost light because I want to use the compressed clipping from just the standard settings to create the hue shift. Though it does work in boost light, the colours tend to come out a lot stronger. In document setup I'm going to set the scene to a 1:1 aspect ratio, so it's going to render a bit quicker as I've reduced the number of pixels. And for the ground plane I'm going to use a reflective ground plane that's fully black with metallicity, so any light hitting it will tend to be absorbed, so it'll give a dark reflection. I'm going to provide a lot of light. I'm going to create a light source, edit that light source, diffuse 0, specular 0, true ambience, use gel, and in the procedural here I'm going to reset the default, get rid of diffuse and give it ambient output. Put a blob in ambient, hold shift down, click on the name and get the basic blue check. You'll have seen this done a few times if you watch recent videos. And then I'm going to go and modify that in the texture source editor, and this setup is going to be in this channel. I'm going to use distance squared, minimum 1 and a frequency of -1, and that produces an extreme negative value. And then in this channel here, I'll just drag that one across, I'm going to use difference and I'm going to subtract in here just nothing. It doesn't matter about octaves, but I am going to make sure that I've got an output that, so the difference is going to be in the alpha channel, and this will give me a positive output. And then I'll drag that one over again and use multiply, and I'll reset this, make sure I'm modifying the filter in this one, and then I'll use this function here and I'll reduce the output somewhat. The exact level is yet to be determined, but I'm going to take it down, and you can see as these stripes get further separated, that means it's a lower level, and I think that what it's trying to do is it's trying to read a higher value than this interface is capable of showing us. So what we should have here is a fairly high value, not a maximum value, output in the alpha channel, which I'm using to drive ambient, which will mean when this is wrapped around our scene now and driven by the ambient that we've got, it should be providing quite a bit of light. Before I do that though, I'm going to modify the dragon settings in the material lab. Just use diffuse, hold the alt key down and give it full red, 60 green and 1 blue. And what should happen is a high level of light will tend to push this value up to the clipping point, so it'll appear yellow, but the darkened reflection should appear red because of the effect of using metallicity in the mirror. So let's have a look, see what light we've got coming out of this at the moment. Okay, so we've got a bit too much light at the moment, so I can modify that by either using the global ambient color or going into the control. We'll try lowering the global ambient setting first, and then we can try lowering the control afterwards. So I can try and get a reasonable level of light output on this. So you can see now it's starting to dip towards yellow here, but this is white, which is showing that the blue is getting combined into it. So I've essentially got too much light. So if I go back into the radial light here and modify its material setting, and in this one try and reduce the light output. So when it goes to black, that's no good, there's no output, but as long as we're getting some effect in here, some coloured effect, that we're getting some light output. So I'll try that. It's fairly low level, so now it might be too dark. Okay, so you can see that's yellow and that's yellow, so I want this to turn red, which it should do eventually. So I'll modify the output still further and see if I can get it lower before it turns black. So it's just very carefully adjusting these filter controls here to give me the lowest value. Right. Okay, now you can see it's starting to happen now. This one's starting to turn red and this one's gone from whitish to yellowish, so we're getting closer to the appropriate values now. And what we've got here, 18 in the luminance. We can take that down a bit further. Right, we're getting closer now. So this was the effect I was aiming for, was to have this so that the dragon above appears to be yellow and the dragon below appears to be red, but there's a way of increasing the contrast of the output because of the interaction with the way that the light gathering process interambience works. Is it's looking at the surfaces and picking light up. So alternatively we can cause more absorption if we select this the dragon, which I wanted to select there. Let's see if we can get hold of the dragon and go into the material and drop the diffuse of that to 1 and then increase the ambient output. It will have a different effect than providing less light because there'll be more light absorbed due to the interrelation. Now the light level is a bit low, so I have to go back into the light source now and modify the material on that. That's the dragon. I want the light source, right? And go in here and I'll just lift it up a bit. I don't know what level yet, but that should be quite a bit more. So it should be bringing it back up to yellow, but now the absorption caused by the low level of diffuse will create a different effect from what we had before, because it'll be tending to absorb as it enters the facets around its face. So this gives us a different sort of effect again, and you can increase the effect of that absorption still further by going into the diffuse for the object, and you can set it down to, let's see, that might accept that. Varies from channel to channel for some reason. Let's see if we get anything out on that. Yeah, just about. So for this we need quite a lot of light. Not there. Back in the radial light, in the material for the radial light, and increase it a bit further. So that should be quite a bit of light now. So this is for lowering and lowering the diffuse, it means that the light gathering is getting damped, so it will tend to have a more exaggerated transience modelling effect on the contours of the model, which I think is an interesting effect. And again, you can see that the true colour, if there is anything as a true colour here, is being shown by the reflection because it's suppressed the overall light levels within the scene. So for final rendering then, I'll go into the render options and set that up to 256 rays per pixel and see how long that's going to take to render. So it should be fairly efficient because I've got no other diffuse light sources in this, so it's 20 minutes at a maximum resolution for that. It seems to have stalled there for some reason, which is a little bit worrying. Possibly it's crashed. Oh dear. No, it's managing to continue. Oh well, we'll see how that goes. There could be some kind of trap with the light in there somewhere that might cause us some problems, but we'll just wait and see. I'll let this render out and then you can see the results of the final render when it's done. I'll just pause the video there. See whether it gets stuck. No. Okay, pause. So there's the result of the final render. As you can see, the effect is rather pleasing with this sort of high definition in these details on the model, where it seemed to get darker than you would normally expect with the transience lighting. So that's the effect of having the very low diffuse mopping up the additional lighting, so that there's a sort of bias that's given towards the light arriving from the gel light from the outside. So I know I've gone through this fairly quickly, but there's still at the experimental stage with this form of procedure to increase the output or produce negative output. So as things get more refined, I'll probably go into more detail. But then again, this is a fairly advanced topic anyway, and I would expect that anybody tackling this would probably want to look at the other videos before tackling this video. So there you go. Hope you found that interesting and that you'll have a go at using this effect yourself in your own renders.